In this video, guys, we're going to look at should you be trading CFDs? Stick around. Hey traders, warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining me. Alright, so if you're new to the channel, this is a channel where we talk a lot about trading. If you're interested in the markets, any type of trading, this is the place to be. We talk about mindset, strategy, CFDs, spread betting, futures, everything. So if you're new here, you might want to consider subscribing for more videos from me and others. Alright, but if you are looking and wondering, should you be trading CFDs, maybe this will help. Okay, so one of the first questions you've got to ask yourself is, have you been trading shares before? Because many people move to CFDs from trading shares. They're trading shares and they're like, well, how can I kind of extend this a little bit? How can I really kind of squeeze a bit more juice out of it? And of course, one of the advantages of trading CFDs is the ability to trade on margin, which means that you're putting up a percentage of the total notional value. So shares, you're buying £100,000 worth of one share or whatever it may be. CFDs, you might only have to put up £25,000 or whatever it is. Sometimes it depends on the broker you're trading. And by the way, guys, check out our channel sponsor. There's a link to those guys in the description below. But yeah, you might want to kind of use your capital a little bit more aggressively. And also you might want to be able to trade short. The restriction with shares, of course, is that you buy shares and you can't take advantage of falling markets. Generally, you're either out the market or you're in and you're getting hurt. Well, CFDs, you can take advantage of those falling markets. So the question is, have you traded shares before? If you have, this is quite a similar product. And it's very easy. You're buying if you're buying 10,000 shares or something, you'd buy still 10,000 CFDs. Slightly different, perhaps if you were spread betting, the pound per point thing is a slightly different terminology. Still relatively simple once you've got your head around it. But I guess the transition from shares to CFDs is a slicker one. And so if you've been trading shares before, it might be something to consider. You might say, well, if I can trade on margin, it might be an advantage for me. And where you live is a key one, because if you live in the UK, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, spread betting is probably going to be more advantageous to you. It does depend on what you're trying to achieve, does depend on your tax circumstances, etc. But for the average person speculating on market direction with no kind of unusual circumstances, then the tax-free wrapper of spread betting is probably better. However, I recognise that spread betting is not available for many people around the world, so it depends where you live. If you're living in some European countries as well, then maybe CFD trading is a good way to go, because it gives you the leverage and margin. You can access multiple different markets around the world from one account. It's quite a convenient way of trading as opposed to kind of opening individual broker accounts with each country that you want to get exposure to. And also in the US, some of the rules are slightly different as well. So, you might want to consider whether you do or don't want to trade. So where you live is quite important as to whether you want to trade CFDs or not. And then what's your strategy? So, how are you approaching the markets? If you're buy and hold, and maybe, I guess, what is your hold time on average? So these two things we can look at together. So if you're kind of buying and holding for a few years, CFDs may not be for you because you have that overnight financing charge, because effectively you're borrowing money because you're only putting up a small amount of the notional value or percentage of the notional value, and there's a fee to borrow, if you like, that additional part of it. But if you're trading much more kind of short term, maybe over a few days or a few weeks or even about a few months, then it might be suitable for you, because you can kind of use your money a little bit more aggressively by trading on margin, like I said before. Maybe you can trade some short opportunities as well, so you can look for some downside moves. And maybe, you can kind of spread your opportunities around to some things that you might not be otherwise interested in. So many people just trade shares only, but CFDs, of course, you can trade an index, you can trade a commodity, you can trade the ETFs. There's all sorts of different ways there. So what's your current strategy and how are you currently trading? And the final thing is, what markets do you want to trade? Now, if you're trading small cap shares, for example, then CFDs aren't going to be for you, because not many brokers will offer a CFD on some of those small cap shares. So if you're really focused on those, then it's not for you. But if you're trading some of the bigger shares, some of the kind of higher market cap stuff, some of the more common shares, then CFDs are going to be available more than likely. And so you can then go, well, should I be trading these? Should I be looking at a different way of approaching it rather than buying the underlying share and having all my money tied up in that? and I'm only holding it for kind of a few days anyway, or a week or a couple of weeks, how would it work out if I bought it via a CFD? How much money would I have left for opportunity to strike elsewhere? What's the holding cost? Am I missing out? So, you kind of have a look at the whole picture. Not for everybody, of course, and then high risk as well, because you're trading on leverage and margin. But they are a very powerful trading vehicle for the right trader. So ask yourself the question, if you've traded shares before, obviously you've got some experience of risk and how the markets move, so you're kind of ahead of the curve from someone who hasn't. So if you haven't traded before and you're trading CFDs, you've got to understand the risk and how they all work and stuff, and definitely look at a demo account and look at a very small position size to start off with. If you traded shares before, you're aware of that. Where do you live? Obviously, we talked about that. It depends on the jurisdiction you live in, the tax and what you're trying to achieve, your strategy as well, the whole time, and the markets you want to trade. So some of the things that you can ask yourself to see if you should be trading CFDs or not. Whatever you do, keep your risk managed, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.